Welcome to Shock Rock Devilocks. Hello and welcome to episode number 5 of Shock Rock Devilocks. This week we have Danny Sage, a guitar player for one of New York's finest rock and roll bands, D-Generation. We're going to talk about their comeback album of 2016 titled Nothing Is Anywhere. We're going to talk about their possible plans for touring next year. Talk about this, stories from the 90s. Just if you never heard of them, go and check out the new album, Nothing Is Anywhere, and specifically, go check out the back catalog, Through the Darkness, No Lunch, their self-titled debut. All great albums. The first album I ever got from them was No Lunch, and I think it's just one of those hidden secrets in the rock vault. Definitely check that out. But go YouTube their new single, Apocalypse Kids. They have 3 videos: Apocalypse Kids, Militant, and Piece of the Action. So do yourself a favor and get into some new rock and roll music. You'll be glad you did. But sit back and enjoy this episode. Well, I guess we'll start with the new album there, Nothing Is Anywhere. Probably was released, 5 years from the time you started making it? Roughly?
I think less. I think maybe four and change. But however you want to qualify it, it was a long time. It was way too long for me. And clearly, I guess now in retrospect, too long for the band and too long for everybody. But we kind of got sidetracked. So.
Yeah, because I know. Well, you produced it, but I know you started. It was Ryan Adams was originally the producer, and you guys had the whole album with him.
Yeah, it kind of didn't go like that. It went. I started it, the band started it, and about a year into it, or you got to keep in mind, I suppose, we didn't have a label at the time. We didn't have a budget. We didn't have money. We didn't have anything. We just had some songs that Jesse and I wrote. So Jesse and I really started going in with Michael to demo things in New York, very casually, very informally. And then I don't remember the timeline, but maybe at least 6 months or something into it, I got a phone call from Ryan, and he was like, Jesse told me that you guys are working on new material. And I said, yeah. And he said, I would love to produce it. And, he's always been a really big fan and, a friend of mine to Jesse's. So he was like, I really want to produce it. And you guys should come to California and come to my house, come to my studio, and we'll finish it or we'll work on it, whatever. And, I was kind of ambivalent about it. Jesse, of course, was like, this will be the greatest thing ever. And, I kind of had my doubts about it. I kind of, didn't know if this was like the right thing for us. But I like Ryan and I was willing to give it a shot. So I said yes. And then we eventually did it. This probably took a year really in all to probably get it all happening. Again, we don't have a lot of money and didn't have a real budget. But anyway, we all went out to Los Angeles and we recorded, I think, 18 songs. And then we got back, and everybody said to me, I don't like the way the record sounds. And I actually was kind of like, this is a record. You guys wanted to do the record with Ryan. We did the record with Ryan. This is the record. Let's put the fucking record out. And all my guys were kind of like, no, we don't like it. Let's figure something else out. So, then everybody was like, wow, the demos, quote unquote, sound really good, and they sound way better than what we just did in California. So why don't we just work on that? And so I just kept working on those for like another 2 years, again with next to no money coming in. And then we realized, like, wow, this actually sounds good. We actually have something here. And so that's what Nothing Is Anywhere is.
Yeah, I guess the first album in 17 years, you kind of want to make it sound like, you want to make it sound the way you want it to sound like. The song
Yeah,
Black
I mean,
Rose.
I just think like to put a kind of a fine point on the whole thing. It's like I didn't set out to produce the record. I produced the record by default. But having said that, I also think that I know what the band is supposed to sound like. And the guy who engineered it, Mark Lewis, is our front of house guy for the past 5 years. So he knows what the band sounds like on stage. So I feel like sonically, we finally made a Degeneration record that represents Degeneration sonically. If that
So
makes sense.
you don't think you had that with the previous albums, or you're just comparing it to the other album you did?
I think it's the best sounding record that Degen ever made, and now ever will make, I think. But I think we're kind of like, to me, it sounds the most like what the band really sounds.
To me, like, I had no clue what it was gonna sound like. And then to me, it doesn't sound like anything like Through the Darkness, or it doesn't sound like anything like No Lunch. So, I think that's a good thing.
I agree with you.
Well, no, I'm not knocking the album. I'm just saying, like, not recreating, not
Yeah.
recreating or rehashing old stuff. A lot of times when a band comes out with their first album, after a while, that you hear bits and pieces of certain songs, like they're rehashing things. But I don't hear that with the new album. So
I'm glad. I mean, I can tell you a lot of bad things about my band. The good thing about the band is that the people are kind of progressive, forward-thinking people, and they hold themselves to a really high standard. So I don't think we might have made some crazy record that flopped and, was terrible, but it would have been a step forward. You know what I mean? Like, the band never was looking back. You know what I mean? Like, we were never trying to, like, rewrite Generated or whatever. That's not what we're about.
Is that the one more reason maybe why everything got kind of pushed off too? Was, I know Jesse seems to always have he's always going out on the road with his solo band, and then Richard lives in North Carolina, and Howie lives in LA, so everyone's scattered around. I just wondered if that's a key reason.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. And then also, I kind of am very particular about what I want to work on, what I want to record, and what everything sounds like. And I'm pretty sure of, my whole thing with any of the past 5 years, 6 years, or whatever, like even the gigs and everything, I was like, look, to me, if it's not going to be something that I'm proud of, then I don't care to do it. So I only wanted to do the songs that I felt were real. There's probably 30-something songs floating around from the past 5 years, and I only was really interested in really working on the ones that I thought were the best ones, and I wanted it to sound the best, and I wanted the performances to be the best. And, like, I don't want to fuck around. I mean, I never did, but I really don't want to now. Like, I didn't see the point of putting out something subpar. So, that took a long time to get it right.
Yeah. Was there all these leftover songs? Well, I know there was talk about maybe there was a rumor of releasing unreleased songs like that you had maybe from the 90s as well, like getting those together.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of extra material, I suppose, or more than a lot of other bands have, but I think there's also a reason why a lot of stuff gets left on the cutting room floor. Like I don't love when a lot of my favorite bands just put out everything, because there's like a reason sometimes why. You might get the odd, jam. I mean, I think of like certain songs, like I think of, off the top of my head, like there's a song that I really like by Blondie called Poet's Problem, and it was like a B-side, and but it's one of my favorite Blondie songs. But not every fucking B-side and demo and whatever needs to be put out. You know what I mean?
I always hated when bands put out a demo of like a well-known song or whatever. They put out a demo on a box set, and it just sounds just like a demo, nothing special. It's like it's like a waste.
I mean, look, I suppose the argument is of course that you probably don't have to listen to it, but I'm with you where it's like I think there's, like I said, there's a reason why certain things aren't released to the public, or whatever. Like I think there's some stuff that is, it's like, working, what do you call it, like over the course of working, it's a working version or whatever, you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily need to see the light of day. And then, just some songs I don't think are as good as other ones, and so I question whether everything needs to be released, but, that's just me.
You guys did some shows there in the summertime, eh? You went to Pittsburgh, you went to play some shows in New York, you did Seattle, I think, too, right?
We did about, I think we did about 10 West Coast shows. Yeah, we did Philly, we did New York, we did New Jersey, I think. I don't even remember. But we did maybe 15 shows altogether, something like that. I would have liked to do a lot more, but I just don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen now. It just seems, like there's, everything's in a lull. Maybe we'll go to Europe or something, but I don't know that we'll do a lot of other American dates.
They seem to really like you in Spain. I see that.
Yeah, they love us in Spain, which is really nice. I mean, I think we could have opened up a lot of other markets, like I'd like to go to South America. I'm the kind of person that I would go anywhere where people want us to play. But again, I'm one of 5 people, so I can't unilaterally just drag everybody across the world to play No Way Out,
Yeah, so that's like sort of the appeal to the band, right? Is that this, the band was, had its success in the '90s, but it could have been a lot bigger. But for whatever reason, I guess it was maybe you guys came out in the grunge era and you guys were a little more glammy, or
I think we're kind of like our own thing, and I think it's hard to do that. I think it's hard at any time to kind of follow your own, your own vision and continually do it without, kowtowing to whatever is popular at the time. I think that's a part of the problem, or cool, or charm. I guess there's people that probably think that's charming. I think it's good to adhere to your own vision and not, deviate from it. I'm proud that we always did that. Even when we were signed to the biggest record label in the world, we still did whatever we wanted to do. But there's also things within the band that are problems, that are reasons, there are problems between the 5 of us that are reasons too that the band isn't big or bigger or more popular or have more money in our checking accounts. I mean, a lot of it has to do with, the way things were in the 90s, but a lot of it also has to do with the 5 of us and choices that we made. And the only people that have to answer to that are the 5 of us.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of the thing when you're in a band, you got to count on everybody to be on the same page, right? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's like being married to 4 other people or something. It's like, I can't, like, I could definitely find fault with the record labels. I could definitely find fault with, like, people that are too stupid to, know the difference between, like, us and, like a glam rock group or whatever. But then, also, like I said, there's definitely things between, the 5 people in the band. I think there's a work ethic, that's maybe not there all the time. I think people have their own egos, their own problems, their own, choices that they make. They don't, I think people showed that they don't work for, the band necessarily, that they kind of are more mercenary and work for themselves and make choices for themselves. I can't, in other words, I don't think it's just the fault of, like, a bad record label.
Visibly, I mean? Like, yeah, from the outside, it seems like you're the one that's always keeping it together. You're the one that's, as far as like whatever, like you're always kind of pumping the band, and you kind of, I think seems like you fought hard to do the album. Like without you, it might not have happened.
Yeah, I say that I think that's probably true. Again, maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, maybe people think that's great, maybe people think that's bad. I think there's some element of resentment about that, but whatever. It's something I believed in. I'm glad we made this record. I think it's the best record we ever made, and has most of the best songs on it, really good performances on it. I think sonically it's there. So, I'm proud of it. I'm glad that we did it. I'm glad I pushed for it.
Yeah, it's a good mix of sounds too. Like, like Apocalypse Kids was more of the maybe more signature degeneration. Same with Queens
Right.
of A, and then there was a lot of other cool stuff on there, like Not Going Back. I really like that one.
Yeah, that's a great one.
So
Oh, I'm glad. I'm really glad. I think the people who got it really like it, and I'm happy. I'm happy that they have another DJ record, and I'm happy that everybody, all five of us, are kind of represented on it. And
okay.
I think it's a really good record. I think I'm proud of it. I'm happy with it.
I wore the hell out of it in my car in the summertime. I had to put it down for like a month or so. Those CDs. You play them, you play them, you play them, and then you're like, I kind of overdid it, and then you got to put it away from it. So.
Yeah, I hear. Well, you'll see if in a couple of years you still listen to it. That's the mark of a good record.
So is that kind of like the thing of the band? Maybe like you go out and do something, maybe for a year or two, then you put it to rest, and then you bring it back, and it makes it fresh again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I just think also that people have to have an excitement about it or something. They have to care about it. Now, I really cared about the band. I cared about the five people in it. It's not about me. I think the band. The one thing I will say, to go back to your last question or comment or whatever it is, I don't think anything different about me personally. It's just that I think that I care about the band more than, I think the band is bigger than me, and I think I might be the only person in the band who thinks that.
Well, yeah, that's a healthy attitude. I mean,
well, you can or not, but it is what it is. I believe in the band, and I think I'm just 1/5 of the band, one part of the band, and I think that the band was really important, and the chemistry between those five people is really important, and I don't think that there's anything that really replaces that. I don't think any of the five of us even comes close to outweighing that.
Yeah. So you put some videos together too, right after the album was released, or before and after. Apocalypse Kids, Piece of the Action, and Militant.
Yeah.
Now I think there's other videos that people have made videos like this, like fan made videos or whatever on YouTube. Now I know. I think there is some. I think there. I'm not sure. I thought there was maybe some floating around. I know you have a stance on that, eh? Like with YouTube and musicians' rights.
Yeah, I haven't seen any other ones, but I'll tell you that there's supposed to be a new video being made for Not Going Back. That's supposed to be animated. It's supposed to be really cool, but I don't know. It was supposed to be done a couple of weeks ago. I'm still kind of waiting for it.
Okay, well, I think that would be good if you guys maybe did some kind of a, maybe like a spring summer tour to promote another single, and then just keep.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Anything is possible.
Like I was telling you, maybe like get on a opening slot for like Rancid or Green Day, or like you did back in the late '90s there.
Yeah. Well, we know those guys. They've always been good to us. So.
Any stories from touring with them in Europe?
Oh, there's so many. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start. The one thing I will say is that they have remained friends of all those people, especially the California bands. I think of Rancid and Social Distortion and Green Day, and they always were all really cool to us. And especially, I would say the guys in Green Day have always been just really good friends of ours, and see them when they were in New York, and they've been nothing but good to us. For 20 years. So.
And you've also had quite a camaraderie with the Ramones as well too, from being from New York.
Yeah, they were the first. They kind of really took us under their wing, and I even would tell people, even in a stupid nuts and bolts way, they taught us so much about just even bullshit touring. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of like older brothers or something. I don't know a better way to put it. They just were great to us. They really supported us. The first time we played in front of like big crowds was opening for them. I mean, I think they just really helped us anywhere they could. And aside from, how great they were artistically, they just were such good people to us, just so friendly and supportive.
Did you ever have any contact with Marky anymore, or CJ?
I don't, but my brother does. But I was more friends with John and Joey and Dee Dee to a lesser extent. We used to run into Dee Dee on the street all the time. But I was mostly friends with Johnny and Joey, so, once they were gone, that was that.
Probably couldn't
I think, say again?
Oh, I said you probably couldn't hang out with them at the same time.
No, you couldn't hang out with them at the same time. As a matter of fact, Lars and Tim and I from Rancid once got in a conversation about that because they were so confused by it. They said, I think Lars once pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, do you ever think that like Johnny just likes you because he knows that it makes Joey upset?" I laughed. I thought that was so great.
Getting back to the album cover, that was sort of an iconic image in itself. The boy pissing into the Hudson River.
I'm glad you think that. That was something that I sketched out in my kitchen. So I'm glad that it had that kind of weight that you would call it iconic.
You sketched that out?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I was. I don't even know where it came from, but I just had this idea. I had pictured it as in kind of an Ansel Adams, I guess, kind of way. And originally in my head, when I thought of it, I thought of a girl, like a really young girl, like a little girl, I don't have kids, so I don't know, but maybe like a 3 or 4 year old girl just, sliding down like right on the bank of the East River peeing and not giving a shit about, the big metropolis on the other side of the river. And then when we got the model, it turned out that it was a little boy, but the meaning, it doesn't matter. The meaning was the same and just worked out really good.
It just means that, like nothing is anywhere. Like you could be in a big city or something, and it's like you can still be lonely or you can still be unsatisfied.
Yeah, I think that's a lot to do with it. I think it also kind of, it has all of that. To me, when I came up with Nothing Is Anywhere, the phrase, it was more like I was just so frustrated by New York and our country and kind of the way everything is. And, it was like, I think Michael and I were talking about the city and about certain businesses, and he said, I was walking down this street, and this business went out of business, and this happened, and this is gone, and just out of sheer frustration, I was like, yeah, like fucking nothing is anywhere, and I hope that photo kind of represented that, but I think that whole package kind of came out good. I'm pretty happy with it all the way around.
That would be good as a big framed photo on a wall or something. You go into someone's house and there it is.
Yeah, that would be nice. It's funny you should say that because we did an in-store and they gave me this big, I don't know how big it is, but it's in my bedroom and it's about, 3 feet by 3 feet or something. And it's the album cover. It looks really cool. I'm going to frame it.
People always say that you guys were like for New York. You guys kind of bridge the gap between the Ramones and the Strokes. What do you think? You think there bear any truth to that, or I guess that's one man's opinion, or somebody's?
Yeah, look, I think it makes sense to me in a very gloss over kind of way. Of course, there's a million other bands. I think of friends of ours. I think of like Murphy's Law and Agnostic Front and the Lunatics and Fur, and there's a lot of bands, that, and there's bands before us, but I get the point of like, I guess maybe there was the Ramones and then that kind of stopped or whatever. I think chronologically, if you're talking about like bands that were more national acts, yeah, I get, the only other band I could think of from that period that like left New York a lot and worked on the road a lot was Helmet. I think if you're talking about like nightlife and kind of obnoxious, loud rock and roll, yeah, I suppose there is some validity to like that lineage or whatever. I'd much rather have the Strokes bank account, I guess. I've never seen them play, and I don't really know anything about them.
I didn't see them.
I know like maybe 2 or 3 songs, and it never hit me. It never was kind of like, I don't know, they seem kind of like a little bit lightweight to me. Like I like a heavier thing. And
one thing that really surprised me, or not surprised me, but one thing that was good is that you managed to get all the original 5 members together. Because I know when the band first broke up, there was, I think, just Jesse and Howie, and I think you were still in the band.
Yeah, I've never not been in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's hard to keep everybody together. I think people realize, like, after maybe they leave or they go do something else, and they go, oh, this is what I really want to do, and, I don't know. I never had that hard of a think about it. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, these are the people that I've played with for 20-something years, and we make a good noise together, and there's usually a good chemistry, at least on stage. And, to me, that's all I need to know. I don't really, like I said, I don't think about it too much. I didn't have, like, some other agenda,
Do you write a lot? Like now, like the tour was done, or like while you guys were on the road, did you come up with any more material? Or
I didn't write anything on the road, I don't think. But Jesse and I have a bunch of stuff that's either finished or somewhat finished, or part of it is finished, or But it's like I don't know that we would ever touch it, because I kind of feel like we made this statement, and this was the best. These are like the best songs culled out of 30-something songs. So everything else is kind of, except, before you mentioned Blackbirds, I mean,
Yep.
Blackbirds is one I would maybe revisit that one, just because it's so different. The only reason I didn't put Blackbirds on the record is because it's like over 6 minutes long.
okay.
And I think the record was long without that.
I think it's like isn't it 80 minutes kind of the limit for CDs?
Yeah, but it's like how much can you take? I mean, I think No Lunch is 31 minutes or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think when CDs first came out, I think everyone was coming out with these 17-song albums, trying to fill up the, it was a cool thing, right? You could put all this music on one album, and then it just became so excessive.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you're making a piece of art, so I think you need to make the statement and get out. I think after a certain point, you're just kind of hurting yourself. I mean, even records I like I think of, maybe it's a bad example, but I really like Teenager of the Year by Frank Black, and I think that's got like maybe 22 songs on it, but even that's a lot of songs. I don't expect somebody to digest 22 songs, and I think it kind of in the end would have detracted from what the statement was that we were trying to make. I mean, even as it stands, when I did the final sequence, I didn't have Hat Full of Rain on it, and I only put Hat Full of Rain back on because Jesse really likes it.
Yeah, I know that the band's debut album, I know there's that story about the masters being thrown into the river.
Yeah.
So there's probably no chance of that ever being re-released, or...
Well, listen, people can do anything, you know what I mean? That's all just, people can do anything technologically speaking, those you could just burn, the existing copies of those songs. The problem is that Sony owns everything we ever did except for Nothing Is Anywhere, and you can't get anything from Sony. So, I even at one point, I called Rick Rubin, because I actually, when I was a kid, I was friends with Rick Rubin until I was about 25 or something. And I called Rick's office and I said, hey man, just for like old time's sake, can you just release our masters to us? And he was like, I can.
How did you guys ever wind up working with Rick Ocasek? Was that just a label recommendation, or?
No, we never did anything by label recommendation. If Sony recommended Rick Ocasek, we would have told them to go fuck themselves. I really liked that first Weezer record, and we all loved Suicide, and we loved the Bad Brains, and we had interviewed a whole bunch of people to do No Lunch. I mean, I forget the number now, but we talked to just off the top of my head, we talked to Jerry Harrison, we talked to Chris Kinsey, we talked to Jack Douglas, we talked to Bill Price, we talked to Chris Thomas, we talked to Rick Nielsen. I mean, we talked to, this guy Jerry Finn, some of those California kind of punk rock people. I think we talked to I don't even want to put a number on it, but we had a lot of lunches. And one of the people that I kept pushing for was Ocasek. But he was working a lot because he had done the Weezer record, and the Weezer record did really well. So anyway, one night we had dinner with Rick in Union Square, and we all got along really well with him. And we just decided Rick is our guy. Rick's a really smart guy. He's a really funny guy. He's a good songwriter. And obviously, clearly, he's a good record producer. And the only problem was we had to wait. I forget the time period, but we had to wait at least, I want to say, a couple of months. We had to wait for him to, I forget what project he was doing, maybe a Not a Surf record. And we had to wait for him. But I love Rick. I still love Rick. I think Rick's a really talented guy, and he taught me a lot about production. And for me, it was a really good experience. I don't love No Lunch, but I love Rick, and I think he's just I thought it was a really good choice.
Well, that album seems to be the centerpiece, though, of the band's career. Like, that's the first album I when I went to a record store and I saw that. I bought it used, like, not years ago, and it kind of just stuck with me. And then all of a sudden, Through the Darkness came out, and then actually that one grew on me. I love that album. It did grow on me because it was so darker than what No Lunch is, kind of like a sunny punk album.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny for me to hear that, because if you read our lyrics, I think we're anything but sunny, but yeah.
Do you notice, like, the kind of the wide variety of your audience, like, in terms of there's some fans that are more into the Kiss and the Motley Crue, and then there's the fans that are into the Clash and Rancid and Dead Kennedys and stuff like that. I always found that interesting.
Yeah, see, I think that's interesting, but that also completely killed us because people can't make that leap. I mean, I don't know why they can't, and that's not my problem. But yeah, people can't make that jump that, and I couldn't figure it out even when I was little. I remember when I was really little, I was like 10, 11, 12, and I liked the Clash, but I liked Led Zeppelin. And I remember that, like, you weren't allowed, quote unquote, to like both of those bands. And I could never figure that out. I loved, the Stones and the Beatles, and I loved Black Flag, and I didn't make any apology for it. But most people can't do that. They think if you have long hair and you like Motley Crue and you wear funny makeup or whatever, that, you can't like the Germs. But I don't make these rules. And I certainly don't make them for myself.
Well, I know. I just know, like, a lot of, I think it's easier for the Kiss and the Motley Crue fan to get into the punk stuff than it is for, you can't take someone that's already into the Germs or, Minor Threat. You can't really reverse it and get them into, Led Zeppelin or Kiss, 'cause...
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. I mean, again, I never had these problems, and I think it's really weird and sad that people limit themselves, but, that's, people are afraid to take chances, I think. And I think people perceive us really funny because, the band doesn't have a lot in common with a lot of those other bands. Like, I don't see us, I definitely see us in a way more, if I had to, in a way more punk light than the other bands you mentioned. Like, I mean, we didn't ever care about any of those other bands. Maybe, like, when we were really little, we liked Kiss, or, I really like Aerosmith to a certain point. But, most of us, I mean, I guess I could speak for all five of us, we all are kind of like punk rock kids. Me and Jesse were like total hardcore kids. We saw like half of those bands you just mentioned. We saw Minor Threat and the Bad Brains and the Circle Jerks and the Dead Kennedys and Black Flag and all of that. And, I mean, I liked Kiss, but I mean, by the time I was like 11, I kind of thought Kiss was a joke. So.
Do you think, like, New York? You're saying, like, New York, the city is kind of the scene itself is sort of dying in New York. Do you think that?
I think in a certain context, New York is dying or dead. I think it changed. I think it's alive for some people. Like, it's alive if you're like a banker, or if you're like a real estate broker, or, if you are, I don't know. For certain people, it's great. But if you're an artist, in particular, if you're an artist that, didn't make a ton of money or hasn't made it yet, quote unquote, then yeah, it's a pretty dead city. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with me, but it just seems the way they made New York now is just for like people that are really, really, really wealthy and already pretty much established. So I don't see that as being conducive to making good art.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be like the New York scene or the LA scene or the Seattle scene anymore. It just seems
Yeah, no, I
everything's
think, well, if you're talking about music or art, I think that kind of stuff is long gone. You know, I think that's way, it's just not even that kind of world anymore. You know, people are like on their phone. That's their scene.
yeah, the phone scene. Oh
It's
yeah,
the phone scene.
we're talking about the whole. Everyone's talking. You know, that's a basis of conversations nowadays. Is people talking about what kind of phone they have and what kind of plan they
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, well, you know, that's interesting for some people. I hate to hang out with those kind of people, but I suppose that's fun for people.
So yeah, so right now everything's kind of up in the air, or you said you were making that video for not going back, and then
Yeah, there is a video being made for not going back, but we don't, you know, we're not in it. It's just going to be animated, so that should be really cool and fun. But I've yet to see it. I saw like the storyboards or whatever, and they looked really good. The guy's a really good artist and everything. It's, you know, it's fun to see yourself as a cartoon.
yeah, so yeah, hopefully next year there's a few dates anyway, whether it be in
Who
Europe.
knows? Yeah, who knows? You never know. We get asked to do really crazy stuff, you know, like we've gotten asked stuff, you know, to do with GNR and Green Day and stuff in Europe, and you know, there's always something. That's the funny thing about this band. Everybody tries to kind of ignore it, but then we always get these really nice offers, so it's hard to ignore.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad for the bank account, I guess, if you went out with Guns N' Roses again.
Yeah, it depends. You know, you spend a lot of money, but yeah, listen, I would play for free. You know what I mean? Me personally, I like to play, so it's not a money thing for me. You know what I mean? It's like it has way more to do with like just playing rock and roll.